Truckers are the heartbeat of America. It's time for those three crazy truckers to deliver you an hour of news, interviews, and entertainment for your listening pleasure. It's the Independent Truckers, right here at the Truckers Independent Broadcasting Network, with your host, Princess Alley, Mr. Rock and Roll Sean Mitchell, and John Grosvenor.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Thursday night edition of the Independent Trucker Show, right here on the Truckers Independent Broadcasting Network. Tonight, we've got the Vice Chair of the Republican Party for Bexnard County, Kyle Sinclaire. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good.
We'll get Anthony in here in a minute. So, Kyle, how you been doing?
Good, man. Just busy with work and politics. We got massive races going on. Texas is in session, which they go in session every 2 years for about 4 months. So it's busy right now for us.
So there was a couple things we were going to talk about, and we didn't get a chance to back in March. You had said something about they were sending out flyers to avoid ice.
Yeah.
What is that detailed?
We saw nationally AOC was doing the same thing in New York. A lot of prosecution, a lot of threats from her, what she was doing. Obviously made national news and attention. And then all of a sudden we started seeing a flyer down on the south side of San Antonio, which is, underserved population, heavy Hispanic. And so, I was directly talking with Tom Holman, the Attorney General's office, ICE down here, Texas DPS to see, to keep them updated on what's going on. Went to a couple of events and I didn't really see much. Nothing was really there. They didn't do much. Nobody really attended the quote unquote event that they were hosting. So I've not heard or seen very much other than the flyer that was posted, and that was really about it. So, but it's crazy that, you had that going on here in America, and, people feel entitled to do something like that in America. In San Antonio, the leadership pushes that. They were at one time sanctuary city. They had a huge migrant resource center that was processing about 1,000 people a day through San Antonio. So we've got a lot of issues with illegal immigration here in San Antonio.
Well, and I imagine so, living so close to the border. I guess another question I was going to ask is, is ICE actually kicking in down in San Antonio like I thought they would have?
I have not seen wide-scale deportations or ICE coming through. I just saw something that there was 4 students kicked out of UTSA, so it's University of Texas San Antonio University. I just got that alert today, so I'm gonna dive into that and to see, what the reason was. But there's some rumblings and some stuff going on. I'm sure it'll continue to push up. We continue to have Trinidad Eduardo gang issues down here in San Antonio. Every once in a while, you'll see an arrest related to it. So I do hope they do come down here. ICE does, and Holman's group, and they make some major changes. So.
Well, and I think that'd be pretty good as well. I guess one of the last questions I wanted to ask for right now is, do you feel that they're going to end up starting to crack down sooner, or is it going to be right now business as usual?
You talking about like in San Antonio?
Right.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of as usual right now. I mean, the leadership here, both from the mayoral leadership to city council, are pro pro-legal immigration. They funded it for millions of dollars before they turned it over to the NGO Catholic Charities, which is a front for the USAID, and I think CIA is involved in that type of stuff. So they're constantly do it. I just saw, Castro. What I've been seeing is more on the Doge stuff than I have immigration. In regards to, like, I've been on the news. I just did a news segment last night. I've done one about one a week on different subjects, but most of it's been about tariffs, Doge, economy, and some of those things.
Okay. Oh. So for right now, have you been working with any other the campaigns going on?
Yeah, we have a huge municipal races down here. We have the mayor that's termed out, which is great because he's horrible. And then we have 5 city council that are running for mayor, so they became open seats. So this is the first time in San Antonio's history that we've had a termed mayor, 5 open seats, and we think the Republican Party is going to pick up at least 2, possibly 3 more city council, and we've got a couple good candidates in the mayoral race. So it's a big thing, right? And then you had, Attorney General Paxton just announced this week he's running for U.S. Senate against Cornyn. So we got some pretty big races heating up for 26 midterm as well.
I'd be interested to talk to Paxton as well. Kyle, I'd like to introduce you to somebody that ran up in Colorado this last term. Daryl Gibbs. He actually ran up in the state for Colorado. By the way, they call him Mr. Gibbs.
Mr. Gibbs, all right.
How you doing, Daryl?
Oh, man, I'm doing good. Just up here hustling. Just offloaded in Nebraska, so I got to head up here to Cheyenne and get a load of fertilizer up to Idaho. So,
now, Daryl, you had ran for a seat in Colorado, and you only lost by roughly 4,000 votes.
That is correct.
Colorado was pretty hot on the immigration too.
Yeah.
Do you feel that if you would have got elected, a lot of that would have changed?
Yeah. We would have changed. We would have. I would have wanted to authorize ICE to go in and get these people. Have all the police departments talk to each other. So especially get the people that are known gang members or criminals out or have mental disabilities. And then at the same time, redo our immigration laws and put people in line. We have people here in Colorado that's been wanting to get their citizenship. And why is it that we're letting everybody that the Kamala Harris Biden administration come in and we're trying to bend over backwards for them? No, you get behind the line like everybody else, and we need to take care of the people that's in Colorado, that's been living in Colorado, that's been trying to get their citizenship. Get them taken care of first. That's the way it should go. But for some reason, people, they don't want to do that. Some people, they said that's pretty cruel. But even though it's cruel, it needs to be done so it can be done correctly. And then we need to go after some of these businesses too that are hiring illegals over and not hiring citizens. And because you got a lot of these companies that are hiring illegals, they don't get fined. So we have this. So basically what we're doing, we're putting a Band-Aid on something that we need to rip the scab off and let it heal and start taking care of business like we should. But we have people, unfortunately, they're running and they don't want to do that.
I believe you and I have talked about that before, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, there's some. Yeah, I mean, actually, there's a reporter out of the Daily Mail. Her name is Marianne Martinez. She's one of the leading experts at Trinidad Guarda gang, the TDA gang from Venezuela, right? The one that Trump just put on the terrorist list. Governor Abbott already put it on the terrorist watch list, but it started in Aurora, Colorado. She broke the story. She's actually in Texas. She's been following it all across the nation. I've been in a couple of her articles, but it's a big deal. What's interesting to me is every president has always about 1 million to 1.5 million people have always come in legally through every president, right? The
Right.
big delta has been the illegal immigration, which we know is well over 20 million under the Biden-Harris administration for the last 4 years. So that's some of the big differences and who came in across the border. So.
Yeah, and but the thing is with Colorado, and see, this is what I have. This is what I have issues with, and I think we have problems with the Republican Party getting funded by Republican parties outside from the national Republican. Is that okay? The things that I'm saying, you don't hear everybody else saying it because, granted, like you said, she brought attention to it. But what are they doing? You have the mayor of Aurora, Colorado. He's happy with, well, we have them stuck in 3 isolated areas. Why do we have to have them in 3 isolated areas? You know, why don't we get in there, get them the heck out? Because why should that isolated areas and those neighborhoods be affected by these knuckleheads? But we're not. But as long as we have people that are in power and they don't have to see it, and their constituents don't have to see it, or they're not in their neighborhoods to see it, then they're not going to really do anything about it. And the sanctuary cities does not work. You have Polis. He hasn't came out and said, okay, we're no longer a sanctuary city. All you people need to go. And the people that are here, we need to start working on them, work on the DACA kids. But they don't want to do that. And then, but unfortunately, we have people that are running. They don't want to stand up to stuff like this because they're worried about 2 words. It's called a political career. And that's why I think there needs to be more average people like myself to be running for office. But the problem is we cannot give big backers to back up those average people that we know what's going on, that will fight for our people, that will fight for immigration that's done legally. We don't have those things. Until that happens, we're going to continue to have these circles, and we're going to have people that's going to run in our party. And granted, we have some good people running our party, but we have people that do not want to stand up because they say, well, this part might hurt my political career, so either I'll have to be nice about it and sugarcoat it, or I just won't, or I'll get elected, but once I get elected, I won't say anything. And this has to stop. Because if it does not stop, we're going to continue to run down this road.
Yeah, there are a couple of things I'll share. One, and I'm grateful for Governor Abbott. And if it was not for Governor Abbott, I don't know if President Trump honestly would have had that much. I think what he did by busing the illegal immigrants to these sanctuary cities and pushing them to, Chicago and D.C. and to, Harris's house and stuff like that all across the nation. To your point, it became you couldn't turn the TV off and say it wasn't my problem. I didn't have an issue with it, and so national security became a major one issue. Democracy became a number one issue on that. To the point of the Republican Party, I ran for U.S. Congress in 2022, and that circle is very hard to break, and that bubble and the mold to get the federal funding and the NRCC funding and the backing of the groups that come in, particularly with PAC money. There's a lot of freaking money in there. The thing I will stop on this paragraph is that the MAGA movement, Make America Great, or I say, it's the same thing, which is America First, that is so powerful. That 77 million that voted for President Trump is not the Republican Party. That 77 million are the people that voted for America First agenda. And so I think there are a lot of people in the Republican Party, particularly, that are going to realize that when it comes, they don't stand up for our issues, our values, Americans, veterans. You can keep going down the list, that they're going to have a rude awakening coming in this 2026 midterm election. So, I'll pause there, but I think there's a lot of things going on with what you just said.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. And to me, the mega movement is people. To me, is people who are constitutional Republicans, because I get tired of hearing everybody saying this is a democratic state. No, we are not a democratic state. People need to quit saying that. We are a constitutional republic, and that's what I'm proud of. And those are the people who voted for Donald Trump. We can go ahead and put this great big title on, but the truth of the matter, it's a group of people, a large group of people that says we love America. America needs to come first. That's why we voted for Donald Trump. And then, we can go into the tariffs and everything else because I'm glad what he's doing. But Yeah, I'll go ahead and quit.
Yeah.
I'll start rambling.
No, I mean, and what I'll share is kind of interesting. I think I shared this on the last time I was on, maybe I wasn't, but there are a couple things across the nation that President Trump did right this go around in regards to running. And one of them was not just the constitutionalists or the Republicans that voted for him. There's a massive amount of, particularly the number one vote that he went after was the mail vote. And he had it in 2016. He did not have it in 2020, and he got it back again in 2024. And you look at, particularly in Texas, there are some counties along the border that were 186 years of voting Democrat that they flipped Republican. And so here's what I keep sharing. That is great. It's awesome. Love it. It's success. It's beautiful what's going on in the country. But he's only going to have 2 years, max.
Yep.
Max. He will only have 2 years to set forward his agenda in order to keep those people that voted for him, that flipped Republican, to stay Republican, to stay conservative. And so what you're seeing now is the activist liberal judges that were not even voted in, were appointed in, going against President Trump to slow down his agenda and to put a stop to what he's doing. So there's a lot going on with that. And there's a lot to unpack on what he's done in his first 100 days. I mean, I've been on the news literally about once a week for the last 2 months going on certain subjects. Tariff is a big one, right? So it's fascinating what's going on.
I agree with you.
Well, now that was another thing I was going to get into a little bit, Kyle. With the tariffs, it affects both the United States and as well as with the trucking industry. What do you see that's affecting down in Texas right now?
Well, there's no way around it. It affects everything, right? I mean, tariffs are tied to everything we do, and this is partly due to incompetent and idiotic presidents prior to President Trump. And President Trump was part of that. He served 4 years, right? But this goes decades of when the American economy and country became a consumer, which again, let's not forget, this is why the only backing of why President Trump can do what he's doing is because of the consumer power of the American people. If you don't know, do you know how much we spend or how much we consume by dollar amount every single year? Do you guys know? Take a guess.
I have no idea at this point.
It is $27 trillion a year. It is by far the largest. Here's the other thing that's interesting in regards to China, who is putting retaliatory tariffs on America and American products, and particularly President Trump, is that 30 to 40% of their economy is based off the American consumer. But the problem is that decades ago, we gave up manufacturing jobs. We gutted the middle class. We gutted the manufacturing industry. We were dependent on everything. And this started with a free trade agreement after World War I, and where America became the reserve currency of the world, and we were able to, across the world, on. Over time and decades, we got away from manufacturing. We gave it up. We continued to consume. We can't even produce pharmaceutical products. We can't even produce, we are not sustainable as a country at all, right now, at all. You shut off our trucking industry, shipping industry, and you can go down the list of the American country is done. But here's the other biggest thing that's going on that I don't think a lot of people recognize. I've talked to Senator Cruz, Senator Rick Scott of Florida, Senator Blackburn, a lot of different senators about this, and I keep telling them, I keep asking the same question. We're $36 trillion in debt. We have a $2 trillion deficit every year. We spend $1 trillion in interest a year just off of our debt. That's more than we spend on our national defense across the entire year. What are we doing to stop the collapse of the U.S. dollar? That is what President Trump, I just posted on today. What you are seeing right now in front of our eyes is President Trump is resetting the world order by doing it without a world war. And that is the power that is going on behind the scenes that most idiotic people, including Republicans, do not understand what is going on in this nation. He is resetting the world order where America becomes the reserve currency. America stays the dominant power, both economically, manufacturing, people, you can keep going down the list. So I'll pause there, but that's my thoughts on it. I love it. I support it. I'm for it. It's going to hurt, and we need to do it as a country. The only way he's able to do it is because he's a one-term president, and he has the power. He's been talking about it since the 80s to do it.
Anthony Court, welcome back, sir.
Yeah, good to be back. I don't know if you could hear me that well. Do I sound okay?
We hear you. So you're involved in a part of the industry that also affects a lot of the tariff wars that's going on right now. How's it looking on your section?
Well, right now, I mean, I haven't seen any effects yet, but yeah, I couldn't say I've seen the effects yet, but I know that the prices, it's probably going to cause a shock in the market, definitely, because a lot of parts do come from China, so some things are unavoidable. But I mean, like Kyle was saying, they've got a hold on the market, and Trump is pretty much doing everything he can besides, pushing the red button, not the Diet Coke button, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, he's doing everything in power. Yeah, they think it's the nuclear button, but he just wants the Diet Coke, right? No, I haven't seen it affect the market surrounding what I do has been different ever since the coronavirus. I don't know if we can say that on here. I'm so used to being censored on fucking TikTok. It's ridiculous. So ever since the whole COVID lockdown, there's been a return, but things have changed, right? It hasn't been the same ever since. So I mean, it's interesting to see what this is going to do, especially with these tariffs. Where do we see, what's the end game? What's the end game? I mean, Kyle, you're classically Republican, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right, and you know that in general, tariffs aren't really a Republican idea, right?
Yeah.
So I originally kind of questioned the whole process, but I think I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because not just, there's certain neocons and certain Democrats that sold us up the river have been empowered China. So I understand where he's coming from with this, and it wasn't a surprise that with the 75 plus countries coming to the table to negotiate that he put a pause and made it a blanket of only 10% because they're willing to come to the table. Yet the liberal fucking media didn't hold off in saying that it was Trump folding, which is not what happened. This is what he said he would do. If you're willing to come to the table, you're more likely to get a deal. And who was the one that didn't fucking come to the table? And it's China. Right? So, I mean, that's what we're dealing with. I mean, me personally in the industry that I'm in, I haven't seen the effects of it. When we're going to see that within the next few weeks to months, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing they're already turning barges and ships back. So, I mean, it's, we're probably definitely a few days. The other thing that's not talked widely about, particularly with the tariffs, is with the change in the stock market, right? You saw that massive stock drop. What that is doing and what I've heard, what I've read, what I've listened to and seen is that is causing the people to go buy bonds, which reduces the deficit. By buying bonds, it also reduces the deficit, but it also allows, and this is why you saw President Trump send out a message to Powell, or I think Powell, to drop the interest rates. And so you're seeing like these multiple things going on that it literally is the art of the deal, and that's what he's doing. And there are so many people that do not understand because we're so short-sighted about this country and about the economy and about what's been going on for decades and where we need to do and how do we reset and how do we rebuild America and how they're just, people don't get it. So, I think this is short-sighted. We got to stay the course. We got to give them the flexibility, the freedom. I'm grateful Speaker Johnson said, no, he's not going to stop the tariffs, and he's going to give President Trump the freedom to do what the 70-plus million American people wanted to do, which is put America first. So, I'm for it. I'm in healthcare, right? Majority of my products and things we do in healthcare are made in China. So, we'll see it. We'll feel it for sure.
Right, and my whole thing is, I don't know how far we want to get into this. I don't want to throw the show off course here, but I always thought, when he's talking about going back to classic American economics and saying that we should get rid of the income tax and just do tariffs, I don't think he believes that he can get rid of the income tax. That's my opinion. I think he started saying stuff like this so our enemies like China, when he comes to the table, they know that he likes tariffs so much that they're going to take him seriously, want to draw a bargain, want to draw a negotiation. That's my opinion. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the latest I've heard on that is actually he does want to get rid of the IRS for anybody who makes 150,000 and less, right? And so anybody who makes more than that will still pay taxes, but they're estimating off of the ERS, the External Revenue Service, which will be based off of tariffs, is about $750 billion. Again, what they're doing through DOGE, which is trying to reduce $1 trillion a year in deficit, because again, we have a $2 trillion a year deficit. We spend $2 trillion more than we make every year. And so with $36 trillion in debt, you've got to do a combo of everything he's talking about. You can't get any American products in even Japan, one of our closest allies, South Korea. You don't get American cars. You don't get American-made products because they tax the shit out of it. And so you have to break that mold, get American manufacturing products and goods in there. You build up the American economy and the country and the middle class, right? You see that manufacturing job boom, and you get our products being sold. You tax the shit out of it as we sell it in their country now, reciprocal tariffs, and you start building up $750 billion is what they're estimating on the tariffs. Yeah, you can start knocking some massive debt down on top of what DOGE is doing.
Well, I also think on the tariffs part, when somebody said tariffs is a Republican idea or something like that, really the tariffs is a product of the Roman Empire. We use tariffs ever since we was using tariffs forever, and then we came up with the federal income tax. So tariffs is just something that, to me, I'm not going to say it's a party thing. It's not. It's just something that is used for business. And you are correct. We don't have anything in China or in Japan that they sell that's on the even kilter for us to sell things. We'll sell their products hand over fist, but they won't sell really our American products there unless there's a great big steep money tax that is baited on there. And we have to go back to having things that are fair. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people out there. They don't understand this because they don't teach this in school. And a lot of people, they just don't want to sit down and do their research. So I think and like you said, now we're beginning to have manufacturing jobs to come back. But I think one of the problems is people got to quit being so greedy. We got to have a little bit of give here so we can get back to having manufactured jobs here in the United States and keep it, and then get these people off of welfare and just tell them either A, you're going to work, or B, you're going to starve. It's going to be one of the two. And people got to get back into that mindset of working for their money, and that's also going to turn the U.S. around. And I think in the long run, I think we'll be a lot better off. Like you said, we used to be producers. Now we're nothing but consumers. We need to get back to producing again.
Yeah, that's where even through the tariffs, he's already had businesses, right, promise $7 trillion of businesses, manufacturing plants being built in Houston, manufacturing plants, car plants moving from China, right? You will see it. It will come back, and I guarantee you the federal government is going to be involved in loans and building businesses and a part of this. They know it's got to bring that back to America. So, I literally the last 48 hours been thinking, man, what kind of manufacturing thing can I buy into and start developing? Because I think it's going to be a boom that we've never seen. Here's the last piece I'll talk about, and that's back on the IRS reducing your income tax. Elon Musk tweeted on it, which is, we're taxed to shit on everything, on your income, on what you make, your capital gains, your sales tax. You buy something, you sell something, we're taxed to shit as a country. And here's the fascinating thing. If he can reduce the IRS for anybody who makes $150,000 or less, imagine not spending 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 plus dollars to the federal government. That is an immediate paycheck and money that you get to keep. Guess what most people are going to do? We're going to go buy something. We're going to go build something. We're going to go invest in something. And so the impact that it will have across the middle class America will be a massive boom on top of that just by getting rid of the IRS for anybody who makes $150,000 or less.
Well, that sounds like a good idea. I mean, the thing of it is, I want to get back into just for a brief second about manufacturing. And this is where it kind of affects into Anthony's category, is if you remember right, Kyle, back in the 70s and 80s, you bought a GM product, it came from Fisher Body right out of Anderson, Indiana. there was a lot of manufacturing done for automotive in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky.
Yep.
Now all those jobs have seemed to disappear.
Yeah, but I mean that's exactly what happened, Sean. It's the American greed, right? We can get cheaper wages and cheaper labor internationally, and so that's what happened. And then they eventually started taxing the shit out of it as we built it and sold it and bought it and consumed it. And you've seen this over decades of what happened to America. Again, President Trump is the only president in our lifetime that would be able to do what he is doing. And I don't think he could have done it his first term. I think the only reason he's able to do it is because he is done after this. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about needing to run for a third term or second term or any of that. And it is his ultimate agenda. He's been saying it since the 80s, the unfair taxation on America, the unfair trade and wars and the tariffs that have been coming on the American people. So I love it. I think you're going to see some of these booming industries. You know, when Tesla says, I'm building a plant in Houston, when Honda says, I'm building a plant in Wisconsin, when Apple says, I'm building a multi-billion-dollar plant in Chicago, wherever they build them, they need job, they need labor. They're not going to import it. The other thing that's fascinating, which we have not talked about, is the gold card, right? The Trump gold card, which is a fascinating concept and what's going on that as well. So,
well, the last time I barely remember hauling anything automotive was about 6 years ago with a load of brakes to go into Mack trucks. But the catch is they were having the prisoners in Pendleton, Indiana working on them. They were doing whatever they needed to do with them, then shipped them back to Memphis. So I guess there's one way to keep somebody busy.
Yeah.
But the bottom line of it is it's cheap labor.
Well, we need to get our instilled in. It's good to get back all these car manufacturers and stuff too. But we also got to, hopefully he's going to look at the steel industry and look at improving our coal industry instead of shutting these plants down and stuff, because those are places that there's a lot of hardworking people in, and it's you know, a lot of families been in, but we kind of ignore them. We kind of look at technology and look at the auto industry, but they're not. Hopefully, it's going to trickle down where we start saying, okay, we need to make our own steel, because it doesn't make any sense for us to have all the elements sent to China. China brings it back and the steel is brittle.
Yeah, and I know just this week, Daryl, President Trump signed 4 executive orders pertaining to coal, and pushing that executive order through through the executive branch of protecting, producing clean coal and manufacturing that. So I agree with you. I think he's seeing it, and I think he's working towards it. It's been fascinating to watch.
Yeah, that'll work. I just want to see Americans just come back, because you know, like I'm even when I put in an application or something, they say race, I said other and put American, and I think that's what we need to start looking at. You know, we need to be. I don't care about the party. I'm American, period. And the only reason I'm in the politics because I want things to get better. It's the same thing with Colorado. But it's hard for average Americans to be able to get in politics and go ahead and kick butt, just like we're agreeing on, because a lot of people, they agree on this. It's just nothing to get, you know, the wheel is either running really slow, or we have people, they don't invest the time and money to get people who think like us in power so we can get things moving.
I agree. I really agree with that. Toller's in the background saying that he agrees with Kevin O'Leary. They need to put a 400% tariff on China and they'll fold. What's your thoughts on that, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I posted on that yesterday as well about that. You've seen the increase of China. Look, there's a phenomenal book and YouTube series by a guy named Ray Dalio. He wrote a book called The Changing World Order. And I think I've shared this on the podcast with you guys before, but I'll share it again, right? And so Ray Dalio did a study on the French, the Romans, the Dutch, all the empires. And what he found is that every 250 years, from every empire going back thousands of years, that every empire lasted 250 years. There's always a 10-year period of decline of the superpower, always summation of a war, and then a 10-year period of the incline of the next superpower. And you are seeing, guess what happens in 2 years? America is how old? 250 years. Not that we've been the superpower for 250 years, but that is how long and how old our nation is. You saw the decline of America. You saw the loss of all the stuff we just talked about, right? Consuming, all we do is consume. We don't produce, all the stuff like that. Again, the only person who's able to do that is President Trump, to stop that war, which is why I just shared earlier. He's changing and resetting the world order back to its original state of America being the superpower without using a war. And so I agree with Kevin O'Leary, 400% tariff on China. We need to get away from China. You got to bend them, right? I saw Howard Lutnick talked about when Ontario, Canada was talking about putting an additional 25% tariff on our energy for the Northeast. And Howard Lutnick talks about, he said President Trump through a tweet was able to back down some bureaucrat in Ontario trying to tariff and stop the energy production for America by a tweet. And he said, that is the president you want for this country. And I agree with it. My thing for President Trump, I like him. I've met Don Jr., I've met a lot of his cabinet. I know a lot of the people. I don't want to eat dinner with the guy. I don't go to him for my moral lessons. I don't do any of that shit, but I want him to be the best goddamn president for America and for Americans, and to take care of this country and our veterans, and to put us first above Somalia or Africa or Egypt or any other damn nation in this world. That's who you want. Somebody who's going to fight for them, for the American people. And that's what we're getting with President Trump. And I could give two shits about what the Democrats, liberals whining about. I don't care. I don't care. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm supportive of it. So that's my 2 cents.
It'd probably be
You just may be your best friend, Kyle. Allie, I believe you had a question or two you'd like to ask.
I do. I have a few of them that I came up with last month. It doesn't really have to do anything with tariffs, though. Kyle, how do you think that cutting the verification of your identity over the phone is going to fix social media or social security fraud?
Yeah, actually, I did a segment. The local press asked me about that, and because the woke socialist liberal Joaquin Castro obviously hates Trump. He's one of the impeachment managers handpicked by Pelosi. So I'm directly. So anytime he's making comments, they're coming to me, and that was one of them. I'm 100% for it, and I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. One, there's so much fraud, waste, neglect, and abuse in the Social Security system, right? Elon Musk and Doge has found people, and President Trump went on live national news talking about people that were 300 years old, 200 years old. You're talking millions of people, billions of dollars of waste, right? And I'll give you an example. So you had Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana. Love him. He's a great guy. I've met him multiple times. Said that during COVID period, just those 4 years, they had $400 billion worth of Social Security checks that were cut to people that were dead and were cashed. Now, the other brilliant idea, which President Trump shared, and which I love, and I also spoke about this too, is using the United States Postal Service who already has all the addresses of every single person, who can do this at a fraction of the cost that we hire companies to do these stupid census things that we don't really know what's going on. But I absolutely think every human being that is living needs to verify, particularly if you're getting Social Security, get to verify. If you can't get there, I hope that they use some type of transportation system. But I absolutely agree that everybody needs to be verified for Social Security. This is ridiculous of people like Castro and other Democrats like Schumer and Jeffries talking about, he's cutting Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. It's the whole stupid thing they keep fighting and telling people. Look, the people who scream the loudest about what's going on are the people who either have fraud, support fraud, or getting some type of a check or something. You should want the country to be successful, and we're so used to hands out. So that's my take on it. I'm supported. I like it. It needs to happen.
Okay. And there's also a lot of elderly people who cannot go out to prove their Social Security. What's another alternative to prove your Social Security, if not over the phone, like via mail or like even over I don't know, maybe bills or something like that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the United States Postal Service. I think it's a big one. And President Trump, they are so pissed off at the Postal Service about them being pushed under the Secretary of Commerce. Partly, and here's why. They have a budget of $78 billion a year, and they lost $10 billion last year. $80 billion blew through it, right? And so it's a broken system, but they have access to every single person who is living, has a mailbox, a address, and that's a great way to verify. They can get involved. Why can't they hand deliver a census card to an individual to verify that they're living?
Yeah.
They're already there. They're already running the neighborhoods. They already have it all mapped out. And it will save American taxpayers. The number I've heard is like hundreds of billions of dollars that we spend every 10 years for the Census Bureau to come out and to do the census every 10 years. So I think there's some great ideas. There's some fascinating stuff going with that. But, again, I work in the healthcare industry. Number one recipient of healthcare is a geriatric population, and I'm very aware of the fixed income and their limited mobility. I think you can do a lot of creative things locally with transportation companies, and again, you initiate something like the post office. Our old people still love physical mail, so.
Oh yeah, a lot of older people do not like doing anything over the phone. I know my grandma personally; she absolutely hates it. Every time she goes to the doctor, they want her to like check in or whatever on her phone, and it drives her nuts. I think via mail would be perfect.
Well, if you're done, Allie, I'm going to move on.
Yeah, that's all I had. I'm sorry.
Government employees do more work than that.
So, Kyle, down in below, I think you remember this guy. He's running for state rep for Kentucky, Greg Toller.
How you doing?
We're doing lovely. How about yourself?
Doing well, doing well. Sean's getting me fired up with some of these. Sean's getting me fired up with some of these questions, so I apologize.
Well, I could probably get you fired up a little bit more too, probably. What do you think?
Lock and load, buddy. Lock and load.
So I've got.
Go ahead, Greg.
No, I've got a couple of congressmen that I've talked to, even a senator here in Kentucky that I've talked to, and it seems to me that they're not for the big beautiful bill, the budget bill. For the simple fact, a lot of stuff in there that's been cut is still going to be funded. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for me personally, that's a complicated one. I'm watching it closely. Obviously, it just passed the House. There's a couple things in there, particularly the SAVE Act, which I think needed to pass. That's Congressman Chip Roy out of Texas. Very good friends with him. He ushered that in the House, and then Senator Mike Lee out of Utah was backing that one. So it was a mirror bill on the Senate. And that was verifying anybody who votes needs to produce an ID. So there's some big things in that bill. President Trump is, obviously pushed on it needing to pass without shutting the government down. I think that some of the stuff that he's put in place, like Doge, and some of these other cuts are doing it. But I don't know all the intricate details. Those bills are huge. I'm not a big fan of omnibus spending bills and lumping everything in it. I think we need to line item and break some of the stuff out. But the whole thing with this country is we've got to get out of debt. The collapse of the U.S. dollar is going to be the biggest impact to any of us in here or anybody in America. That if we don't fix the deficit problem in America, it doesn't matter what else happens. There's nothing else. It doesn't matter your moral stances on abortion or immigration or anything like that. If we cannot fix our economic status of a broken nation, then it does not matter anything else.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. And, I hate to go against, Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, Andy Barr, things like that. But, I agree with you. I agree with Thomas Massey as far as, man, let's break these up. Let's don't have one big bill. Let's have 3 or 4. Let's break it up in sections and vote individually on it. I agree with that because there's some things in there that's really I don't agree with. I don't think should pass. But being with all the good, it's probably going to pass, and then we're going to be left with some bad. But I guess, it's government. You got to give a little to take a little. And that's a bad thing, but it is what it is. One thing I wanted to really ask is, out here campaigning myself, I'm pushing to make Kentucky a veteran-friendly state. A lot of stuff needs to be done to make it a veteran-friendly state. And so while I've been out here doing this and talking about it, I've also had people to come up to me and said, hey, I've got a way that U.S. can make a little bit more money if you think it would be good to do, which I can't do at a state level. It would have to be done nationally at the federal level. And, I was like, so what are you suggesting? They were like, why don't we let police officers, firefighters, first responders, why can we not let them pay a yearly fee, whatever it is, and pay co-pays and things like that, and be eligible to use the VA since there's nothing there for them?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, well, first I'll start off. I mean, I love Kentucky; it's a great state. I also too supportive like Senator Rand Paul, but I do not agree with him on trying to limit President Trump's tariff ability and to push it through Congress. So there's probably very few things that I will disagree with Rand Paul on, and that is by far 100% disagree with him on that. Most of the stuff I agree with him. I think he is a constitutionalist and absolutely understands the power of government, limiting federal government. I think for me, some of the things I love President Trump's first term, right? He allowed the VA benefit of veterans to be used outside, which was great. You saw a huge increase with that. I agree with that. I just met with our firefighters association here in San Antonio about 2 weeks ago. Very close to the firefighters and police associations here in town. I love the idea. I mean, I think, being in healthcare, we don't do enough for our veterans. We don't do enough for taking care of them and being able to use it. The backlog is ridiculous. The system is broken. That's the closest thing we have in America as a socialist healthcare system is the VA. And it is effed up. It's horrible. It does not work, and it needs to be fixed immediately with a lot of changes. So I like the idea. I mean, that's a great idea to do that. The only thing I would say is not push them into the VA, but push them into the civilian healthcare system, which is not perfect, but is a lot better than the actual VA system itself. So, but we need to take care of our first responders. I mean, they're paid like shit. We trash them. We don't take good care of them, particularly our police, as they're hated on due to the Biden administration and stuff that they were doing. So, yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal idea, but I do think it is a federal issue that you could probably get a lot of people behind to support it.
Yeah, and I've had a meeting with Congressman Barr. I'm working on my meeting with Thomas Massey.
Good.
And things like that. And I agree with you. VA healthcare system sucks. I use it. I know. I've seen it firsthand. And back when I started using the VA back in 2003, nothing wrong with it. It was good. I mean, they done good. They were on top of things. And now it is a piece of crap. Unlike what my opponent thinks. He was like, yeah, I took my dad to the VA. I love the VA. They do a great job. And I'm sitting there listening to him speak at a meeting, and I'm like, dude, you don't even know.
Yeah,
that's smoking crack.
Don't sit up there and say something's good when you have no clue about it, because trust me, it sucks.
Yeah. It needs to be revamped. It needs to be revamped for sure. And I hope, I don't know if that cabinet pick has been placed yet over, I don't know. I mean, you have Pete Hegseth over the Department of Defense, but I don't know if anybody has been placed over the VA itself.
Secretary of VA, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'll have to look at. I'm gonna look that up now. Once we're done with the call, I'm gonna look that one up and see what's going on with that. It's an interesting one now.
there's so many topics going on. That's what, I love it, because every single freaking day there's something new. It's keeping the media, like, they don't know what to do. The Democrats are falling apart. They're 27% approval rating and dropping. Their leadership's a mess. The media can't keep up with him, right? But even the Republicans are the same way. We can't keep up with all the great stuff he's doing, literally every single day. So it's fascinating.
I mean, the question still remains, are you tired of winning?
Go ahead.
Are you tired of winning? I mean, that question still remains because, like you said, it seems like every day there's something, and it's like,
here's the only problem. I shared earlier in this segment, which was he's only going to have about 2 years, maybe even less, to keep all the millions of people that were not Republican that voted Republican, right? So he's got a lot of work to do. They're trying every step to litigate him, to stop him. I think that's why even some of this tariff stuff, they don't want to do that. Obviously, the mainstream media, which is dead, is against him. But the other factor is anytime you have a trifecta, the president, the Senate, and the House, the midterm they never do well. So I'm very fascinating to see what happens in the 2026 midterm. I'm considering running again for U.S. Congress, so I'm heavily weighing that. I'm watching what's going on, so we'll see what happens.
Yes, absolutely.
Anthony, you deal a lot in social media and postings and everything. What have you noticed with what Kyle was saying earlier?
What specifically are you asking? Like with what the liberals are doing, or?
Well, you deal a lot with a certain individual. We won't mention no names here. Do you actually feel that they're being paid to put the propaganda out against Trump, or are they actually trying to come up with facts and figures?
No, they're still being paid. It just came out the other day. A guy who's kind of more conspiratorial. He came out and said that he was offered $20,000 a year to start pushing.
I saw that video today.
Yeah, and actually, that guy's friends with me on there. I like some of his content. I definitely don't agree with a lot of the stuff he puts out, and that's how some of this goes. Though there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of moderates that don't agree with what Trump's doing or saying. But there's a lot of creators that are MAGA. There's a lot that I contact with that are libertarian. We don't agree on everything. But anyways, I'm going to get sidetracked with that. He came out and said that he was offered $20,000 to start attacking Trump and his policies and specifically trying to target other conservative creators like myself. And what I've noticed, I'm not going to say his name because I don't have proof of it, but somebody who was pro-MAGA, who was kind of more of the middle, has suddenly flipped to the other side. So I think that they're actually getting some people to flip for the money, right? And I wouldn't do that. Because my bread and butter isn't all social media. I haul cars. I do that. I make my own money. I have a big boy job, right? So they are definitely paying content creators to push their propaganda still. Yeah, so that is definitely.
Well, and I agree thoroughly with that. I mean, you and I have actually went up through together about Harry, and you can't tell me the man's not paid for what he's been saying or doing.
Right, and the script that they use actually has been floating around. They have a whole script of talking points on how to approach MAGA and how, what to say, basically trying to gaslight people who are MAGA or, and then when you really know what you're talking about, that's when they either kick you, mute you, or they get somebody else up there to try to make them look stupid. That's pretty much their tactic. And I guess Kyle had to go, huh? Did he leave?
Well,
Hey, sorry about that, you guys.
he's back.
Sorry about that. Every time I get a phone call, it kicks me out, and I've got to reset it. So I'm sorry. I apologize about that.
I figured,
no, it's okay. I've been trying to reset.
I figured you got a phone call.
Yeah.
I was trying to reset this camera because the phone, when I go through the phone, it sounds awful. But anyways, no, there's definitely a campaign. They're still the Democratic Party's still funneling money into TikTok creators. They're definitely still doing that. And, actually I had another right-wing, her name is Megan Eleanor, that said that the Republican Party needs to start doing this. And I was like, you know what? I think from some insider sources, I think that they were holding off on that. And my whole thing is the free market elevated, the cream rose to the top, right? There were certain creators that rose to the top and got the job done. They didn't need to funnel money into it, right? That they paid Harry Sisson how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, other creators hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they wasted their money, right? Yeah,
Well,
so,
yeah,
I mean, it'd
because
be
11
great.
women came forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And you know that whole thing.
Forward.
Like that whole thing wouldn't really bug me if it weren't from a guy who claims to be, pro women's rights, right, or pro, trying to be. He's like the biggest simp out there, yet he's out there doing that. So I mean, other than that, him, the whole thing. I don't know if you want to get into this whole rabbit hole, but basically, the top liberal creator Harry Sisson, he had a business partner. I forgot his name right now off the top of my head, but he was protecting him even after being told that this guy was allegedly grooming people in their Discord server. Yeah, Camille Maroon, right? Thank you. Yeah, so he actively still worked. He actively still worked and protected this guy even after being told this information. So that was the biggest part of the scandal. Then he flipped it around and said, "Oh, MAGA's just mad I have game." I'm like, no, we're mad that you were protecting an alleged groomer. Right? I don't give a fuck what you do on your free time with with the thing that you supposedly have between your legs. I don't give a shit about that. I give a shit about that. I give a shit about you being a hypocrite, and then also protecting a groomer. I mean, it's disgusting, right? So that's the whole scandal we were revealing about him. Then there was a rumor that he wasn't being paid anymore, but I think he's still on the payroll personally.
Oh, I agree. I just think his views have kind of crashed like the market of 1929.
Hey, well, what do you think about the SAVE Act today? Only four Democrats voted in favor of their proof of citizenship to register to vote.
John, that's one of your pretty hot topics. What's your thoughts?
I think it's pretty awesome if they're going to get people to provide identification to vote. We have too many illegals in this country that are trying to vote, and we need some honest and voting, and we need some integrity in voting again. It's ridiculousness. I mean, they're busing people into places and registering them on site, then bus them somewhere else and register them on site there. It's got to end at some point.
Hey, you believe what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that Democrat out of Georgia, I think it was Representative Williams, was trying to say that this is a poll tax. Right, they always pull like the race card. That it's just, you can't make this shit up.
Everything's a race.
Yeah, it's
well, my understanding was didn't Crockett get escorted out of a meeting today?
I don't think I saw that one yet. I'd have to look that. It's been a busy day for me.
It was on TikTok. Now it could have been a few days ago, but I think she got escorted out today.
Yeah, well, she assaulted a journalist and grabbed and twisted his hand, the camera out of his hand. I don't know if you saw that one.
That might be what I was talking about.
That was like about a week. I think that was last week. Was that last week? Yeah, but what do you think with China? I know we're going back on the tariff thing, but my prediction is that I think China in the next few weeks is probably going to cut some sort of deal with Trump. What do you think?
Oh, I think they're going to come crying here in a little bit.
Right. If Kevin O'Leary gets his way and he says ramp it up to 400%, I don't know if China's. Well, they've already signaled today. I have to find the article that they are signaling that they want to talk. So I think this is the beginning of that process. However long it's going to take.
Well,
Xi Jinping was
go ahead, John.
Have a meeting with Trump, and he never did have that meeting with Trump. China has basically infiltrated the United States for a couple of decades now. They paid off many of our members of Congress. They've had presidents that were working for them. What they were trying to do is become the next superpower. They wanted to replace us in the globe. That's their ultimate goal. And the funny thing is, talking about these tariffs and all this other horse crap that we've been talking about, is we built China. We've outsourced to China so much, we've made them a wealthy nation again. We gave them the economic strength for them to build a superpower military. We've done it to ourselves. We built China and made China what it is, and now we're looking at it going, what a beast. We got to slaughter this beast. No shit, we should never have built it in the first place. It's a communist nation. What are we, stupid? They don't value life like we do. They don't value freedoms like we do. They don't give a crap about that. What they want in China is to be the next superpower, and that's all they care about.
Well, they
Yeah, it's
fed
funny
upon the
that
greed of America.
these Chi-Com bastards have definitely taken advantage of their business partners they've been making. Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I understand where Trump's coming from.
So I think China's having a
Well,
hard time.
I mean, I go back and I look a little bit at the history, and the United States backed Castro. Look where that got us. The United States backed Noriega. Where that get us?
Yeah.
There for a short time, they were even backing Gaddafi. You'd think we would have learned something by now by our history.
You forgot Saddam. They backed Saddam, didn't they?
Well, yeah, we put
Saddam in place.
The story,
Yeah,
the story
they
about
backed
Saddam
they
Hussein
backed-
is he
go ahead.
was supposed to take care of our Iranian problem for us. We gave him a lot of military strategies, techniques, taught him bio warfare, so on and so forth, right? Chemical warfare, and then he turned on us like a rabid dog. He bit us. So yeah, it's been kind of a bitter pill for us for a long time with Saddam Hussein. So finally, we got him.
Yeah.
But again, my whole thing is doing all this history. You thought we would have learned something, and here we are again. Now we created a superpower.
But we don't learn from history because they don't teach history. Because if you notice, China, like you said, China was a big player, but the thing is, they became a bigger player because I remember the day when Jimmy Carter was just like, okay, let's get China onto the table. And then next thing you know, China's going to the United States buying everything. And I'm sitting there and I'm just a kid in high school and I'm listening to them. I'm like, this is going to bite us in the butt sooner or later. And again, it comes to corporate greed. And for some reason, I don't know how to be able to do it, but we got to get some way for our corporate people not to be so greedy about everything, because this is the problem that we're having. We've been so greedy that we sold the United States to China, like you said.
Well, and this is why I applaud Governor Sanders when she came out with that. They came out with the bill. If you're a foreign entity, you cannot own farmland in the state of Arkansas.
Well, they need to do that but unfortunately in Colorado, we had our legislation says, oh, it's okay for them to do that. I wish that I hope that President Trump would be able to do something where no one, I don't care what state it's in, cannot buy any farmland, cannot buy any land near any military installation, or buy any in our manufacturing. Because the thing is, I'll tell everyone, how much land do the United States own in China? 0. So if we own 0 in China, why is it that China is owning land here in the United States and also having police departments? Why is that? It just seemed like it's common sense where it should be. If we can't have nothing in China, you cannot have nothing here.
So the police department thinks
there you was.
And
Go ahead.
busted some of them. But Secretary Bessent of the Department of Treasury made a statement about that, referring to what you were talking about, Daryl. It's time to build. It's funny because this was a talking point of the liberal left when Hillary was running for office, when Obama was in office. It's time to build the middle class again. It's time to build brick and mortar stores again. And that's what he was just saying. We need to enrich the working class again. We need to pave a path for the working class. And he made a statement that Wall Street's had it shot, and it's had a long run of it. And it's not really that Wall Street's going to die or anything. Wall Street's never going to die. But we have to have manufacturing in the United States because we've impoverished our working class. We've impoverished our middle class and forcing them to stretch a buck way too far. They can't afford it anymore. So by bringing these jobs back and eliminating what we've done as far as the outsourcing goes, like you said, Daryl, with the corporate greed, they benefited from it for so long. But now we got to get people working again and get people wealthy again,
Agreed. And one of the ways you're going to get people working and wealthy again, like you say, get our corporations back. And then these people, welfare is not made for people to stay on it. I understand people need to be assisted. That's everybody needs a helping hand every once in a while, not a handout. But once we get people to understand you need to work, then we're going to I think slowly we'll start getting everything back to the way that it's supposed to be. You know, it's just like with and I'm just gonna say it, Kaiser. Kaiser laid off a whole bunch of people. When they laid off a whole bunch of people, what they did, they took those same jobs that they laid all these people out and sent it to Costa Rica so they can do the same job for cheaper. We got to get out of that. Again, corporate greed.
Double standards, man. We eliminate slavery in the United States of America. We make these labor laws about slave wages and all this other nonsense. So we outsource so that we can benefit from slave labor in other countries. It's ridiculousness. But
Well, and see this is where I jumped on former Governor Mitch Daniels here in Indiana. He claims by outsourcing a lot of the jobs that we had, it saved the state $5 billion. Well, that's all fine and good, but you took jobs and you sent them overseas.
Well, what year is that? What state is that, Sean? Is that Indiana?
That was Indiana.
Oh, okay.
The only one thing that Mitch Daniels did when he was governor of this state I agreed with, he told the illegal aliens, you got 1 year. Get your shit together or pack up and get out.
So, Sean, I got to.
And you'd be surprised how fast people left Indianapolis.
We got to wrap up
Yeah.
here. We're over on time, and I got some stuff I got to get to. So, kind of
Definitely.
Up and
Okay. So don't forget next week. I'm sorry we didn't get to see Kyle on the send-off, but maybe we'll get him on again. So don't forget, Monday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, you got John with Greg Toller over there at American Patriotism. Tuesday, you got him with Bad Billy. Wednesday, he'll show up again with the Common Sense Conservatives with Chris and Todd, and we'll be back next Thursday.
All right. Thank you, Daryl and Anthony, for joining us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you got something out of tonight's show. It sounds like there's a lot of good talk. As always, keep the greasy side down, the shiny side up in between the lines, and safe travels wherever you may be going. Be good. If you can't be good, well, be good at it, and we gone.